El Grito de Rebelión, a marked beginning of the Philippine Revolution in 1896, which led to Philippine independence in 1896. The other name that we call for this is the Cry of Rebellion. This is the Philippine Revolution. This is a marker of one of the most important parts of our history, yet it still holds controversies on the present into where such event happened. In August 1896, members of the Katipunan led by Andres Bonifacio gathered to express their opposition to the Spanish government. It is also here that the symbolical tearing of the cedars by the Katipuneros took place, thus marking the beginning of the Philippine Revolution that we commemorate year after year in the month of August. Historians cannot deny that also Rizal played a major role in the country's struggle for reforms and independence. His writings, particularly No Limitangere and El Filibusterismo, were viewed as the guiding force for another patriots to rally for the country's cause. Now, these controversies to where the first cry of rebellion took place are still not sure or mysteries to us. So today we present to you these certain accounts in today's online debate. The first cry of rebellion. Pugad LAWIN nga ba siya or balintawak? Good morning everyone. Good morning to the audience of today's presentation. We are the Group 5 of Reading Philippine History, Section BSc, PSIT 1A. I'm Ron Matthew Sioco, and I will be your host and judge for this online debate. Now, introducing the two sides of debaters. First, we have the side of Balintawak, which has 5 members: GERALD ACEÑA TOME, STEFF AMOR DACPANO, AARONJOHN DECIPULO, BORIS BAGADIONG, and RAINEL BONDAD. For the other side, we have PUGAD LAWIN with SHERLYN PONFERRADA, GEROY, ROGINEL de la ROSA, Lester ILUSTRISIMO, and VLADIMIR del Pilar. The discussion rubrics are divided into 3 parts. First, if the thought is expressed very clearly and orderly. The second, be able to use their knowledge and skills in the previous reports to address their statements in the debate. And finally, the party is able to address their statements and clearly and informed in an acceptable way. Introducing the side of Balintawak, we have RAINEL Bondad to introduce their side. RAINEL?
The Cry of Balintawak, or First Cry, is an event in which the Filipinos started their first staging act of revolution. The cry actually refers to the first clash between the Katipuneros, showing the reform by tearing up their cedulas into pieces, implicating that they have pronounced to refuse their enslavement and servitude with the Spaniards. The whole story of how, what, and where the revolution really started is still a mystery to most of us Filipinos. Due to the significant number of stories and accounts which pop up having different timelines and places that will be tackled in our presentation. As we have already studied the accounts, the Cry of Balintawak happened on August 26, 1896, as proved by the testimonies of the people who had witnessed the event, which means that their version are accurately detailed and show credibility.
Thank you.
That's all.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Bondad. Now we introduce the side of Pugad LAWIN with Roginel de la Rosa. De la Rosa?
For the Cry of Pugad LAWIN, for the dates, this is due to Bonifacio's movement from different places from time to time in invading the Spanish government who were pursuing the Katipuneros. This explains why there are several accounts of the cry. The cry of the first rebellion actually took place at Pugad LAWIN because of the people who proved it 3 of those who left Balintawak just before the first encounter took place. Pio Valenzuela, Ricio Pantas, and Cipriano Pacheco declared that the unang sigaw took place on an earlier date in different locations in the early 30s. Around that time, the Bonifacio Monument was to be inaugurated. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Now we will head to the statements of each sides, starting from the side of Balintawak with Gerald Tome. Tome?
Hello. Firstly, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Gerald A. Tome, and I am the first speaker of this said debate. And my primary sources are these three people, which is Pio Valenzuela, and Gregoria De Jesus, and Guillermo Magsaysay. So gusto ko lang sabihin na wala akong balak na sirain or baguhin or kopyahin at sirain ng gawa nila. So this is for the study purpose. So kinuha ko lang sila as primary sources for this debate. So let's go back to the topic. So saan nga ba nag-umpisa ang Cry of Rebellion? So for document of Pio Valenzuela, sinabi niya na si Pio Valenzuela pala ay eyewitness ng nasabing event, and sinabi niya na in his first version, he told that the prime staging point of the Cry of Rebellion was in Balintawak on Wednesday of August 26, 1896. So malinaw niya sinabi na ang prime staging point ng Cry of Rebellion is in Balintawak. So sa statement niya, sinabi niya na the first place of refugee of Andres Bonifacio, Emilio Jacinto, Procopio Bonifacio, Teodoro Plata, and Aguedo del Rosario, and myself was in Balintawak. And the second document is from Gregoria De Jesus. And si Gregoria De Jesus ay ang lakambini ng Katipunan. And wife din siya ni Andres Bonifacio. So sinabi niya dito na she has been a participant of this event and became the keeper of the secrets of documents of the Katipunan. So kumbaga siya yung tagapagtago ng mga sikretong documents ng Katipunan sa revolusyon na yon. So sinabi niya na after the revolution in August 1896, she lived with her parents in Caloocan, then fled to Manila when she was told that the Spanish authorities wanted to arrest her. So ayun, nabanggit niya rin dito na doon nga nagumpisa yung Cry of Rebellion sa Balintawak. And then the last people or tao na sasabihin ko is si Guillermo Masangkay. So ang version niya naman ng ng Cry of Rebellion is sinasabi niya dito na sa Balintawak nga nag-umpisa yung first rebellion noong August 26. At sabi niya, at si Guillermo Masangkay pala, isa siya sa mga eyewitness ng historic event na yon and childhood friend siya ni Andres Bonifacio. So masasabi ko lang na legit and legit prime source kasi sila ay mga eyewitness nung nasabing event na yon. So sabi niya, according to him, the first rally of the Philippine Revolution happened on August 26, 1896 at Balintawak. Correspondingly, the date and site presented were accepted by preliminary years of American government. Below is Guillermo Magsaysay version of Cry of Balintawak. So ayun, sinabi niya noong August na nagtipon-tipon daw yung mga tao sa Balintawak. na which is tinawag na House of Apollo Samson sa Caloocan. And then so in my conclusion, so since legit silang lahat, napaniwala nila ako na sa Balintawak nag-umpisa ang The Cry of Rebellion. So ayun lang ang masasabi ko. Maraming salamat.
Okay, thank you for your time, Mr. Tome. Now we'll head to the side of PUGAD LAWIN with Lester Ilustrisimo. Lester?
Thank you, Mr. Sioco. I'm Lester Ilustrisimo, the first speaker on our side. I agree with our first introduction assertion that PUGAD LAWIN was the first site of the first cry of rebellion. Based on the accounts of Dr. Pio Valenzuela, a doctor and a KKK veteran who was the Supremo's closest advisor and close friend. According to Valenzuela, the incident took place on August 23, 1896. In PUGAD LAWIN, where more than 100 Katipunan members gather at PUGAD LAWIN, the home, storehouse, and a yard of Juan Ramos, Melchoras Aquino's son, to address various issues. However, most historians question Valenzuela's credibility because he presented contradicting claims repeatedly. In his testimony before the court of Judge Advocate Francisco Olive, Pio Valenzuela discussed a wide range of topics pertaining to his role in the Katipunan, including how and why he joined the organization, its objectives, its leaderships, and memberships. Among other things, to find those claimed to have taken part in the Balintawak Rebellion on August 26, 1896, this court was established. Additionally, he said that on August 25, 1896, he left Balintawak after receiving orders from Bonifacio to go to Montalban and encourage its people to battle. That's all my part. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Mr. Ilustrisimo. Now for the second speaker of Balintawak side, we have RAINEL Bondad. RAINEL?
Bali, support ko lang yung sinabi ni Gerald about kay Guillermo Masangkay. So, according to Guillermo Masangkay, a meeting was held on August 26, 1896 in Balintawak, in the yard of Apolonio Samson in Cabeza de Barangay of Caloocan. The meeting was attended by Katipunan leaders Tomas Remeo, Enrique Pacheco, Francisco Carrion, Pio Valenzuela, Teodoro Plata, and Bricio Pantas opposed the plan. The leaders continued to argue while the outside await an answer. Bonifacio came out and asked the audience. The crowd shouted for revolt on August 26, 1896 in Barangay Kangkong, Balintawak. The first cry allegedly took place. Bonifacio then asked the people to give a pledge that they were to revolt. He told them that the sign of slavery of the Filipinos were the cedula tax charged each citizen. Bonifacio said, "If it is true that you are ready to revolt, I want to see you destroy your cedulas. It will be a sign that all of us have declared our severance from the Spaniards." The tearing of cedulas in the last day of August of the accounts that do, older ones identify the place where this occurred as Kangkong in Balintawak, Caloocan. Most also give the date of the cedula tearing as August 26 in closely proximity to the first encounter. One Katipunero, Guillermo Masangkay, claimed cedulas were torn more than once on the 24th as well as the 26th. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you for the speech, Mr. Bondad. Now for the second speaker of PUGAD LAWIN side, we have Vladimir del Pilar. Vlad?
In Pio Valenzuela's account, August 19, 1896, Andres Bonifacio, Emilio Jacinto, Procopio Bonifacio, Teodoro Plata, and Aguedo del Rosario arrived at Balintawak. August 20, 1896, Pio Valenzuela arrived on that place. Sinabi dito na yung mga tao at si Pio Valenzuela ay nagtungo sa Balintawak noong August 20. At ang sumunod, August 22, 1896. The first place where 500 Katipuneros was met on the house of Apolonio Samson at Kangkong. Also present were Bricio Pantas, Alejandro Santiago, Ramon Bernardo, Apolonio Samson, and others. In August 23, 1896, the debate to the weather of revolution starts on August 29, 1896. Or not was carried out in PUGAD, LAWIN, in the yard of Juan Ramos, son of Melchora Aquino, where 1,000 Katipuneros were gathered. After that turbulent meeting, many of those present tore their cedula certificates and shouted, "Long live Philippines! Long live Philippines!" That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Del Pilar. Now for the third speakers. First, in the Balintawak side, we have Boris Bagadiong. Boris?
Okay. My name is Boris Bagadiong. Like what Mr. Tome said, dagdagan ko lang. Si Gregoria Jesus nga is the wife of Andres Bonifacio and is also known as the nakambini ng Katipunan. According to her, the first cry took place on August 25, 1896 in Balintawak, or in the place they call Pasong Tamo in Caloocan, which is still part of Balintawak. The Katipunan's action intensified, and when the Spanish tightened their surveillance, the Katipuneros and Andres Bonifacio left Caloocan. A few days passed, and that is where they started the uprising. It started with the first outcry in Balintawak. Gaya dun nga sa naunang statement ni Mr. Tome, malapit ito dun sa account ni Masangkay. Base din dun sa memoir ni Emilio Aguinaldo na mga gunita ng himagsikan. Sinabi niya doon na nakatanggap siya ng letter galing kay Bonifacio mula sa Balintawak na lalo nagpapatibay na doon nga ito naganap sa Balintawak. Next reporter.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Bagadiong. Now for the third speaker of the PUGAD LAWIN side, we have Mr. Roginel de la Rosa.
In the account of Teodoro Agoncillo, one of the most significant historians of our time is Teodoro A. Agoncillo. His new method of historiography did away with the traditional method of writing Philippine history. Through the eyes of the foreigners, and replaced it with a more Filipino-centric method, which saw Philippines develop through the viewpoint of Filipinos. His writings have evolved into the category of classic literature and are now regarded as vital to the study of Philippine history. Teodoro Agoncillo, a noted Filipino writer and a historian from Batangas, wrote a book named The Revolt of the Masses, which says that the cry of rebellion take place in PUGAD LAWIN. His account was based on Pio Valenzuela's and the other later claims, which stated that PUGAD LAWIN was the location where the cry happened rather than Balintawak. Furthermore, Ambet R. Ocampo, a non-Filipino historian, academic, journalist, and culture administrator, wrote an article stating that Teodoro Agoncillo said that Bonifacio scheduled a General Assembly of the Katipunan for August 24, 1896, the feast of San Bartolome in Malabon. This date was the chosen to enable Katipuneros to pass security checkpoints carrying their ballots. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, now for the fourth speakers of the sides. First, in Balintawak side, we have AARONJOHN DECIPULO. Mr. Aaron?
Hello. In 1970, the historian Pedro A. Caglione pointed out the controversy among historians continues to the present day. The cry of PUGAD LAWIN, August 23, 1896 cannot be accepted as historical accurate. It lacks positive documentation and supporting evidence from the witness. The testimony of only one eyewitness, Dr. Pio Valenzuela, is not enough to authenticate and verify a controversial issue in history. Gionacpil, second husband of Gregoria de Jesus, deposited these handwritten notes to the Philippine Revolution in National Library under Teodoro M. Calao in 1925. He wrote swearing before God and before history, and everything in these notes is truth. The phrase PUGAD LAWIN only existed in 1935 after the rebellion happened in 1896. The term PUGAD LAWIN was the only made up because of the hawk's nest at the top of the tall tree and the backyard of Tandang Sora in Banlad Gulod, Caloocan, where it's said to be one of the most hiding place of the history revolutionary group led by Andres Bonifacio. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, now for the fourth speaker in PUGAD LAWIN side, we have Miss SHERLYN PONFERRADA.
Teodoro Agoncillo account. Accordingly, Macapagal decided to change the name of the Cry of Balintawak to the Cry of PUGAD LAWIN and celebrate it on August 23 rather than August 26. The Balintawak monument from 1911 was later placed near a highway. The abandoned monument was saved by student organization, and on November 29, 1968, it was placed in front of Madison Hall on the University of the Philippines campus in Diliman. Teodoro Agoncillo and the UP Student Council erected a memorial at the PUGAD LAWIN location in 1962. Agoncillo said that Juan Ramos' residence was there in 1896, while Tandang Sora's residence was in Pasong Camo. The PUGAD LAWIN Historical Committee was established on June 13, 1983 by Quezon City Mayor Adelina S. Rodriguez to locate Juan Ramos' PUGAD LAWIN home from 1896. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the first and fourth speakers of the debate. Now, we have two speakers from both sides which will be reviewing and giving additional infos and conclusions to their sides. For the Balintawak side, we have Miss STEFF AMOR DACPANO. Miss STEFF?
Good evening, everyone. I am Stefan DACPANO from the side of Cry of Balintawak. So not that we hear all of this statement from our side, the speakers of Cry of Balintawak. Ideas and beliefs based on research supported by different analysis had been detailed. For summarization of ideas based on research of our side speaker, the Cry of Balintawak explained that the Cry of Rebellion in the Philippines happened in August 1896. There are a lot of controversies puzzling in the minds of the readers regarding the real place and date of this event. Some accounts pointing directly to Balintawak are associated with the cry. Olegario Diaz of the Spanish Civil Guards wrote in 1896 that the event happened in Balintawak, which collaborates the accounts of historian Gregorio Salde and Teodoro Calao. On the other hand, Teodoro Agoncillo based on his account from the Pio Valenzuela that emphasized Pugad LAWIN as the place where the crime happened. So, we give some reasons why Pugad LAWIN is not considered as the place of the crime. Instead, the place is the cry of Balintawak. Number one is people of Balintawak initiated the revolution against the Spaniard. That is why it is not appropriate to call it cry of Pugad LAWIN. The second one is the place Pugad LAWIN only existed in 1935 after the rebellion happened in 1896. So compared to 1896, the Pugad LAWIN existed only in 1935, so medyo malayo yun. The third one is the term Pugad LAWIN was only made up because of the hawk's nest at the top of the tail tree at the backyard of Tandang Sora in Barlat, Pulod, Caloocan, where it is said to be one of the hiding place of the revolutionary group led by Andres Bonifacio. That's all for my part. Thank you.
Now delivering the conclusion of the Pugad LAWIN side, we have Mr. Joe Ford Geroy.
I will continue our case in a minute, but before that, there are some things about the cry of Pugad LAWIN. The cry of Pugad LAWIN is a remarkable event in the history of Filipinos when more than 500 members of the Katipunan tore their cedulas as a sign of rebellion against the Spanish colonizers. The first cry of Pugad LAWIN took place in August 23, 1896 through the leadership of Andres Bonifacio, the leader of Katipunan. It heralded the official commencement of the Philippine Revolution against Spain. The insurrection rose in power and expanded to 8 provinces including Manila, Bulacan, Cavite, Pampanga, Tarlac, Laguna, Batangas, and Nueva Ecija, which are now symbolized by the 8 rays of the sun on the current Filipino flag. Not all statements describe the tearing of cedulas in the last day of August, but Agoncillo's version, which was based on later statements of Pio Valenzuela and others who insisted that the cry occurred in Pugad LAWIN rather than Balintawak, was the source of Philippine government official commemorations. And that will be all my part. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for all the speakers. Now we will head to the judge, which is me. Okay, now before I do my closing remarks, I will now state the winner of this debate. Now, according to the statements given by both sides, both of them are very reliable and came from acceptable sources, which I said earlier on. Now with the liability and a more clear delivery of evidences from accounts by grading with the rubrics of the debate, like as I've said earlier, in an orderly way, a clear and understandable yet simple way, no? And they delivered completely all the information they need. They delivered all the statements of the people's accounts while adding a few other accounts that can be used as reliable proof to prove their sides, no? Now, by grading with the rubrics of the debate, I declare the side of Pugad LAWIN as the winner of this debate due to a clear citation of dates in an understandable way. And like I said earlier, they delivered their accounts of the people with additional ones in the orderly way, no, for them to understand more, and they did it in some sort of listing, no? So in my opinion, the cry of Pugad LAWIN have delivered a more understanding way. So congratulations to the side of Pugad LAWIN, and a round of applause, please. Now, of course, congratulations to all the debaters, no? You both gave appealing and interesting ways to state and prove your sides, and you also used the knowledge you've learned from our reports from reading Philippine history as a baseline of studying and researching on reading Philippine history. This shows that you did learn and can use those knowledge to discover more in our history, and you now have made statements that proved your side in this debate regarding the first cry of revolution. Now, although we decided to where the first cry rebellion happened, no, we decided a winner. But let me say it first. What's important is that throughout this discussion, we learned things that will give us impact to the face of history and studying it. Now, here are 3 things that can be said as an impact. No? Now, the first, it tells us that us Filipinos can be organized and we can be united and act as civilized people for the better good of our country. Second, it showed us that we Filipinos can liberate our country by fighting it or by simply loving our country. Okay? Now, the third is the most important part, especially for our students. Finally, it tells us that the role of the youth in the country is having the ability to change the wrongdoings and practices in history. So our abilities that are being developed here in education is our best hope for a bright future in our country. Again, congratulations to all the debaters. You did a really good job on this debate. Thank you and congratulations to every one of you. Now, that is all for the debate of Group 5, the first cry of rebellion. This has been the Group 5. We hope you listened and learned from our debate. Thank you and God bless.